To solder, you have to have three different things. I'll start out by showing you my propane torch. This is just a common torch you find in the plumbing section at the hardware store. Comes with a quick start on the end. Turn the dial, press the button, shut it off the opposite way. Also some silver solder. I like to hammer out the end so that it's easier to use. And then in the same aisle, or even in the same package, you have soldering paste. It's just a gray paste that you apply to the surface of the metal so that the solder flows freely. Other things that are nice to have are a pair of tweezers to help place the solder that you've cut, a paintbrush to place the soldering paste where you want it, and a soldering surface. This is just an old bedpost. You've seen it in some of the pictures I've taken. And the plus side to using something like wood or brick or wire mesh is that the heat from the flame goes to what you're soldering. I used to solder on this, but it took up a lot of the heat and took a long time to heat up what I wanted to when I was soldering. Now I'm going to show you how it looks like when we solder some copper. Now here's a strip of copper. I'm not bonding to anything. I just want you guys to see what it looks like when you heat the soldering paste and the solder on. Take my brush, apply some soldering paste, take a small piece of solder, and we're going to place it right on the strip of copper. Heat it up, and you'll see it bond to the metal. Now it took a little bit longer than it normally would, but that's only because I didn't have the torch on target for just a second there. But that's what it looks like there. You can see it's now bonded to the copper. Now I'll show you what it looks like when we start soldering pieces together. Here we have a nickel. We're going to solder it to another nickel. And so what we'll do is take some soldering paste and brush it on to where we want the solder to flow. Do it to both of them. And then we're going to take our solder and just clip a little piece off. This is why I like to hammer it flat. I'll take that and I'll place it where I want it to go. And then make sure you use some pliers or something that you won't get burned. But we're going to heat up the coins. I'm going to heat both of them up because I want the solder to stick to both of them. If I wanted it to go one place or the other, then I would use the flame on the portion I wanted it to go to. So we'll just heat them both up. The solder should liquefy soon. There it goes, completely liquefied. And I like to use a bottle of water to cool it off. And what I've learned is if it doesn't sizzle, it doesn't burn you. But use common sense and always be careful. So there you have it. Two nickels soldered together, just so you guys can see the basic of how it works. Now we're going to solder something that actually has to do with jewelry. Here's a piece of 22 gauge sheet metal. Nothing special about it. You can pick it up at the hardware store. And then here's a little curved piece that we're going to solder right on top right there. And I'm going to show you how the solder will jump across the seam. Again, we're going to take our soldering paste and we're going to apply it to where we want it to go. Both sides. Place it there. Cut a piece and place it. Now I'm putting it on this side, but when I heat it up, I'm going to heat it over in this area, and I'll probably heat the bottom side. And then this solder will liquefy and it'll jump across this entire area. Watch how it works. Okay, we'll cool it off. Now if you see the metal started to turn a different color, that's oxidation, and solder does not like to stick to that. I used a little more solder than was necessary to form this joint, but you can see how it's traveled all the way across the back and it's traveled all the way across the front. And I use this type of method on the seashell pendants that I made, and it's a pretty strong bond. If you pry it hard enough you could pop it off, but I can't do it by my hands. Since this isn't actually jewelry grade solder, it's not going to be as strong, but there it goes. If it's just a piece of jewelry hanging around the neck, there's no reason you're going to pull it apart with a pair of pliers. It still does the job. Last thing we're going to solder is a jump ring on a pendant. Today's pendant is just a quarter I was fooling around with. I domed it out with a carriage bolt on a piece of wood. And the jump ring is going to be a small section of zinc plated steel wire. Nothing special about this wire, you can just pick it up at the hardware store. Same like before, we're going to take our soldering paste, place it where we want it. Both pieces. Now in this case, we have two pieces that are two very different sizes. The wire will heat up much faster than the quarter, and so we want to place more heat on the quarter. That way we don't end up oxidizing the jump ring, and then it won't stick to the pendant anymore. So there we go, we'll place it right there, and then we'll heat it up. Be careful with your fingers, you want to watch where the flame's traveling. See if we got it. Now if the heat's going in the wrong place, or if you do just like I did right now, you're not going to get it to stick. So let's try to adjust this before it solidifies, see if we can do that. And that's what happens in jewelry making. It takes practice to get things right. But there we go, we got that. Now it's soldered on the back. Now this is a pretty big jump ring. You wouldn't want it to be that big on a piece, but you can polish that off and then you have what you're aiming for. So good luck in soldering. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll answer it. Thanks.